Trade war, the latest round of trade talks with China wrapped up overnight in Shanghai, with China firing back at President Trump. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer are now heading back to America. And in a new statement this morning, the White House called the meeting, quote, constructive, and said China confirmed its commitments to buy more U.S. agriculture products. But a foreign ministry official accused the U.S. of flip-flopping after President Trump said China was trying to stall a deal. So we are hearing some contradictory things from these two sides. Surprise, surprise. Joining us now from D.C. with the latest is our friend Jess Smith. Hi, Jess.
Hey there. The White House did confirm that another round of talks is expected to happen in Washington in September. And I did just talk to Senator Rob Portman. He is a leading voice on trade. He used to be the U.S. trade representative, so he kind of knows what Ambassador Lighthizer is going through. And Portman seemed pretty optimistic. He said there is no reason we shouldn't get a deal in September. Now, the president has been saying something a little different. He's been saying he expects China to drag this out until the 2020 election. We've heard from several senators who aren't as optimistic about a deal coming through in September. I asked Portman what he thought about the president's comments that a deal might not happen anytime soon.
Well, it's a good negotiating position because it's telling the Chinese we're happy to keep escalating the tariff conflict between the two countries, and it's having an impact on both of our economies. Let's be honest, our economy is now growing at a higher pace than we were expected to. Theirs is growing at a lower pace than expected. So, what he is saying is we have tariffs in place. We're willing to go to higher tariffs on Chinese products coming in. And if the Chinese don't want an agreement, that's fine with me. It's a pretty good negotiating position.
So you've had Ambassador Lighthizer's job before.
Mm-hmm.
Would you appreciate those tweets from the president then? If it's a good negotiating tactic, does it help the job?
Well, I think it's how it feels, one, and I think the Chinese realize that. They're pretty smart about those sort of things. But second, it probably gives him the ability to say to his counterparts, look, this is not working for your country, having these higher tariffs. It's not working great for us either. Let's come up with an agreement. And if it's not going to be an agreement, we'll just continue the status quo. So, and I think that's the reality, frankly, during this administration. I do think that there's an opportunity here to have a breakthrough, which would be to have the Chinese for the first time agree to make some of these structural changes. It's one thing to say we'll buy more soybeans for a couple of years, and that would be great, particularly for Ohio. But we really need is some of these structural changes that many of us have been talking about, for the last decade and a half. China is now a mature trading partner. It's time for them to come to the table.
I also asked Portman about Huawei. Huawei has become intertwined in these trade talks since the president granted the company some relief at the G20. And Portman says he thinks that Huawei should be a separate issue. We should keep national security and trade issues separate throughout these negotiations. Dan?
Yeah, very interesting how the president, I feel like, has successfully gotten some people on both sides of the aisle now to feel even stronger in some ways about Huawei than he once did. So we'll keep monitoring. Jess, thanks so much.
Of course.